yra proga sujungti 4 kameras, nes mūsų šį kartą prie stalo 3 žmonės. Susipažino, ką ten susipažino. Dominiką Čivilį jau visi pažįsta, jaunas, aistringas, teisingas kovotojas su baltarusišku nacizmu, žinomu kaip litvinizmas. Ir Dominiko surastas, paprašytas čia atvykti žmogus, asmuo, sėdėjęs Lukašenkos kalėjime ne 1 metus, apie tai pašnekėsim, aišku, plačiau, Sergejus Sparish. And this program is brought to you in the English Sprache. Ir jeigu kam nors nepatinka RP akcentas arba nedaug dievis slaviškas akcentas, taip pat šitoje vietoje išjungkit. Mes kalbėsim angliškai ir Dominikas dominuos, kaip ir priklauso pagal vardą. Aš papildysiu, jeigu man kils kažkokie patikslinantis auxiliariniai klausimai. Taip, Dominikai. Good to see you, gentlemen.
Right, so I wanted to talk to you all about the Belarusian opposition, about Belarusian diaspora, and of course, Litvinism. I think there is a lot of misinformation in the media, especially in the Lithuanian one, and we need to sort of blow away certain dust. So, Sergej, let's start on. Please tell us about yourself, who you are, what is your background, and why would we consider you a credible source?
Okay, first of all, sorry for my English. My name is Sergey. I am from Belarus. I was comrade of Statkevich. I was his secretary from 2017 to 2020. I was general secretary of his party. I was party manager. And I was working for 2020 president campaign. I was working for candidates. His Miguel Statkevich's strategy for 2020 was genius. I think it was political sharing to have not one candidate, but 40 or maybe more. And I was one of guys who were organizing this strategy and so on. And I was the guy who was with Svetlanos Cichanouskajos when she applied for presidency. We were 2. I was the only guy with her. Shame on my head. And Sergei Tikhanovskaya also was one of these candidates of protest. And at June of 2020, before presidential elections, I was arrested rather brutally and sentenced to jail for 6 years. And after 5 years and 3 months, I was forcibly deported to Lithuania without any documents, and now I'm here.
How were you arrested? And were there some telephone calls just breaking into your flat or something?
I was ill. It was coronavirus.
Yeah.
And I was not in best shape of my mind, so I opened the door. They said that this was, I don't remember, maybe medics, maybe something like this. So it was, I was very bad state.
And was it brutal, like in films?
A little bit. They tried on my pants, so I was without pants. But nothing special. You know, I was lucky because some guys were really beaten. And with me, it was not so bad.
Even in Belarus, you can't beat up a person without pants, I believe.
Right, we have mentioned Mikola Statkevich, so let's watch a little something so we would know who that person is.
Согласен. Да, Лукашенко продавал частями. Он продал наш язык, культуру, историю, телевизионное пространство, стратегические позиции в экономике, как газопроводную систему, телевизор продал. Но, понимаете, в 90-х годах, когда только 27% белорусов поддерживали независимость, ужасная цифра, 27% в независимой стране были за независимость. Так вот тогда, когда он начал заключать это союзное государство, в 90-х годах десятки тысяч людей выходили на улицы. Были очень жесткие столкновения с милицией, десятки, сотни раненых. Мы тогда заставили его остановиться. Сейчас 90-95% людей хотят быть независимыми. Они пока имеют мало надежд на демократию, они пока еще не поверили в свои силы. Но идет нарастание этой волны социальной.
All right, so
can I tell about him?
Yeah, this is the question that I wanted to ask you. Who is he? Why is he important? What is his story? And does he really have any support among Belarusians?
Yes. Mikhail Statkevich is one of leaders of Belarusian resistance. In Soviet Union, he was officer, air defense. And he was working with some nationally orientated officers in some circles. And then in 1991, there was GKCP, and Mikhail
The coup d'etat, you're referring to the coup d'etat.
Yes, coup d'etat. Yes, and Mikhail Statkevich was the only officer in Belarus who opposed it openly. It was very, very, for him, dangerous. He could be shot. And in 1992, he was the guy who organized oath for Belarus. He organized a lot of officers at the center of Minsk, and they took oath to Belarus, not to Soviet Union. After that, he was one of leaders of protests when Lukashenko came to power, and he sacrificed his very good military and scientific career. So his friends now are generals, and he is just a lieutenant colonel, and he is just a candidate of technical scientist, but he has a doctor dissertation, but he sacrificed. And he was in prison for 20 years or so, 12 years from his life were sacrificed for Belarus. Okay. And in September of 2025, he was with me in the bus, and Lukashenko wanted him to be thrown from Belarus, but he said, no, I want to stay with my people. And he went from the bus and stayed at border, and some guys without any uniform came for him and took him with them, and we didn't know for 5 months where he is. Maybe he was killed, for example. And then there was a strike. And he was very ill. He was in reanimation for
had stroke.
Had stroke, yes, for insult. For three weeks he was in reanimation, and then he was released. And it was such a surprise. And now he is released, but he is at his home, and we don't know in which situation he is, because he has no documents. Also in Belarus, he has no medical cards. For example, how can he go to medic without these cards? Yeah. Yes, awful situation. And in 2020, he was the brain of this revolution. His strategy made possible this revolution in 2020.
You're suggesting he was the mastermind?
Yes.
Yeah. And how did you meet Mikhail Statkevich? Because it seems like, very big gap. He is a very renowned military officer, and you are just, an activist.
Yes. In 2017, there were big protests against the law about tuniacy. Tuniacy, guys who are not working for government, for officially. For example, they are working in Russia, in Poland, in Lithuania, and then as they come to Belarus, they do not have any job in Belarus. And Lukashenko...
Interesting moment is that the same thing was used in the Soviet Union.
Yes, the same. And Lukashenko was very fond of Soviet Union and Nazi Germany, and she wanted to establish this law. And people of Belarus were very, very angry about that, because if you cannot give us job, so fuck yourself. We want to work in Poland and come to our family and chill. But and there were protests. The most interesting protests in 25th century before 2020 in Belarus, I mean. And Mikhail Statkevich was one of the prominent figures of these protests, and I was very interested in this guy, but I didn't trust him. So I wanted to look at guys who are around him, young guys, and and to took them with me. And when I have seen Mikhail Statkevich, I looked in his eyes and I realized that he is a decent officer. And I wanted to work for him. And I was rather good in work with him, so everything was okay.
Mr. Statkevich is the very same person that refused to be exiled to Lithuania. Last year, he boarded out the bus at the border patrol. What was the logic behind that? Why he refused to go to Lithuania?
Mikhail Statkevich said many times that real leader should be in his country with his people. In 2015, when he was released after 4 years of prison, a lot of people said to him that Mikhail Statkevich, Mikola, you shouldn't leave us. You should stay with us. And Nelson Mandela was in prison for 25 years. He could be released every day, but he rejected. And Mikhail Statkevich is fighting for freedom of our country.
All right. 2020 and now, comparison. So Mikhail Statkevich was decently, pretty much popular back then. How much support does he have now? Or maybe my presumption about him being popular back then is wrong.
It is difficult to say because there are no sociology in Belarus now. It is impossible. If somebody will came to you at the street and what do you think about Lukashenko? What do you think about Statkevich? What would you answer in Belarus? Because this is criminal article. Even if you will subscribe for his channel, this is a criminal article too.
Right, you have touched a very interesting point. Oppositioners versus Lukashenko. How many Belarusians are Lukashists and how many Belarusians are actually oppositioners?
I don't know. It is very difficult to answer. And
broad numbers, because there's a lot of debate whether Belarusians are actually oppositioners or just economical migrants. They are very compliant with Lukashenko after 2022 invasion to Ukraine and so on, so on, so on. So your general estimate, this is not something that we will hold over you.
I believe that there are the same number of Belarusians as Lithuanians who are pro-Lukashenko.
All right, so it's a marginal thing, relatively.
In 2020, I was in such a quarter of Minsk where a lot of MVD officers and very old and drunkards
live in internal affairs.
Yes, yes. So this quarter was not so oppositional. And my relatives, they said that when elections were, more than 80% were for Tikhanovskaya. They were voting not for Tikhanovskaya, they were voting against Lukashenko. 80% in this quarter. Maybe now they are very afraid. Maybe now they not believe in themselves. Mikhail Statkevich said, when Belarusians will have hope, you will never recognize them.
Did I hear that properly? You said that there is the same percentage of number Lukashenko supporters as in Lithuania?
Yes, there are a lot of vata, as we call that.
It's not what I experience when I have my sessions in the chat rouletka and meet Belarusians. They are 10 out of 10. They are pro-Lukashenko. Yes. Maybe I'm not lucky.
Maybe now, but this is about public opinion. It is like Flüger.
Okay.
They're afraid of war. They're afraid of...
What's Flüger in English?
Flüger? How it will be in
frequent,
German.
Fluid.
Russia.
Fluid, I think, no?
Wertrunge in German.
Yes,
okay,
yes.
Right. We nailed it then. I want to elaborate on your imprisonment. So you were arrested. What was the sequence of events then? What was the prison inside like? Have you experienced any misdevers and torture, let's put it bluntly?
It is very interesting story, but maybe you will not understand because you have to experience it yourself.
Try me.
Weather vane. Sorry, yeah. Flüger, yes.
Oh, yes.
Carry on.
Yes, and Belarusian judicial system is very strange, and for the first time it was one article, but again it was another and another and so on. It is silly and it is fantastic. In prison, I was not really beaten. But there was some psychological pressure. 5 years with not very best part of human society. Once I have been in a room with 20 persons, and 5 of them were murderers.
You mean the other people were just criminals?
Most of them.
Mostly?
Mostly. Maybe one-sixth were politicals, and other were criminals.
Okay.
I'm speaking about criminals. 5 were murders, and 3 were also murders, but with a different article. So 8 murders, and nobody regrets. Nobody. I don't believe that all human beings are equal. Maybe they should have equal opportunities, but they are not equal in their deeds. So these people are silly and they are very rough, and I don't like them. And 5 years with them,
What were your coping mechanism?
Reading. First of all, my friendship with Statkevich was very good, very helpful, because I was really not so new for this. He taught me a lot, and some books like Shalamov, Solzhenitsyn, and so on, and philosophy, and so on. And in jail, it was sometimes an opportunity to learn some foreign languages. At the end of my sentence, it was very difficult. It was illegal. I was forced to be a thief. I go to a library. I took some book in foreign language. It was prohibited for political prisoners to read in English, even in Chinese. Even Chinese was prohibited for us. So I take this book in my pants. And then I read this book when I am alone. It was very, very helpful for my mind. Nietzsche in German.
That was a dangerous one. It could have had a contrary effect on you, knowing Nietzsche. Right, now I'm going to grill you a little bit.
Yeah.
In Lithuania, we have a saying, tell us who your friends are, and I'll tell you who you are.
Okay.
Olga Karach.
Yes.
For the viewers, I would like to remind you that she was one of the infamous, let's use this adjective, oppositioneers who criticized Tikhanovskaya a lot, called her a KGB project. Yet ironically, later on, she herself was declared a national security threat by Lithuanian secret services. Why do you associate yourself with her, and why?
Okay, I met her in 2017 or 2018. I was working for Statkevich, and once I have seen one of her videos about Statkevich. In these years he was very criticized by so-called constructive opposition. The office Tikhanovskaya is prolongation of this constructive opposition, and it is a very long story, but I don't care about that. But Olga Karach was the only Belarusian prominent politician, not our supporter and not our friend, who spoke for Statkevich in this situation. I was very interested. This is sincere, because it was not very good for her. And when she said, I want to meet you, I want to speak with you, I asked Statkevich, should I do this? He said, yes, it's okay. So I went to Olga Karach, we have some long conversation, and okay. I was very busy with party work, so there was no continuation this time. But when I was deported, I look around, and who are around me? Our party, Народная Громада, is in such a bad situation. I cannot express myself without bad words about this party.
Oh, really? Because I actually quite fond of them.
You?
Yeah, because I think they are one of the good guys in Belarusian opposition.
You don't know everything about
All right,
them.
we'll talk about it a little bit later on.
Maybe. Европейская Belarus, good guys, but they are a little bit closed. Who else? Olga Karach, politically, were very, very common in views. She is left-wing, I am also left-wing, so I am feminist, so nothing bad. And I've heard about this story about he being labeled as a threat to national security.
It's not a label, it's a declaration. The only thing that prevented her from being catapulted back to Belarus is European court.
Okay, the Russian intelligence service can use connections with Olga Karach for activities directed against Lithuania and
Yes, I believe this is almost the quote from the secret services.
this is
That's official, that's not framing.
Yes, if can use connections.
Could be used, yes.
Could
A
be.
possibility.
A possibility, so sorry, but if she is a spy, she should be in jail. If she is not a spy, so what's about it? I don't think that I should take words of secret services. You know, I don't like secret services. I'm allergic to them.
Yeah, because of your background, that's understandable.
I
yes,
don't
yes.
believe Lithuanian secret services. I don't believe in CIA. I don't believe in anybody. Bad guys. So if she really is spy, so sue and put on jail. And you know, after that, after he was a threat to national security, he was nominated to Nobel Peace Prize twice. She has Peace Prize Germany in name of Sean McBride, Peace Prize Italy named Alexander Langer, and Brescia Peace Prize, and so on and so on. Two times met with Papa Rimsky and so on. She's a prominent politician, and maybe she's enemy from some Lithuanian politicians, the same Lithuanian politicians that made Svetlanos Cichanouskajos office here, and this was very big mistake.
All right, so we will touch on Svetlanos Cichanouskajos in a moment. We have to make a declaration. Personally, I believe August too, we are great supporters of Lithuanian secret services. And
Absolutely, I'm one of them.
Yeah,
And you are. So are you.
I'm outed. Shit, I'm outed. And we're also great supporters of Lithuanian military, police, and all other legal institutions responsible for our safety.
MI5 as well.
Yeah, so this is just, a difference of opinion, and we ask viewers to understand our colleague here and our friend because of his background. It's understandable at this point in time. All right, let's talk about Narodna Hromada a little bit. So this is your party, at least.
It was my party.
It was, all right.
Now I don't know what is going on.
So who are they? What are their position among Belarusian political world and opposition, current opposition in specifically?
In 2020, there were two really revolutionary political parties in Belarus, European Belarus, Radina, and Народная Hromada. It may be some anarchists. That's all. And now I don't see this party as party of Mikhail Statkevich. I don't see this party as a revolutionary party. It is rotten up to the ground. It's rotten. Corruption.
What terrible deeds have they done?
Huh?
What terrible deeds, what terrible things have?
They did nothing.
They simply sat on their hands.
Yes.
Understandable. All right, let's get to the juicy stuff. Svetlanos Cichanouskajos. How did she and her husband rose to prominence? What is the story of them?
Sergei Tikhanovsky was one of the 40 candidates of protest by the strategy of Mikhail Statkevich. He was maybe the most prominent of them. There were different guys. For example, one was from the police, former police, Soviet police. One was from administration. One was from medical services. One was from Afghanistan veterans, and so on. 40 people. And Sergei Tikhanovsky was, such a tribune. He was a blogger. Very, very popular.
And he became a blogger only after he came back from Moscow. That's a very important detail.
Yes. I don't know a lot of about his background, and I was not very interested. She was needed as a ferment for this revolution. The strategy was to rise.
Ferment. Catalyst is something like
it is chemistry.
Catalyst.
Catalyst. Yes, and when Tikhanovsky was arrested, so there was a plan previously made by Mikhail Statkevich and by the Bondarenko and other good guys, good strategists, that his wife should work. For example, if Andrei Sannikov could not go for presidency, so maybe his wife Khalib could go. If Sergei Tikhanovsky cannot go, so his wife can go. So I was working on these documents, and all the documents were ready for Svetlanos Cichanouskajos, and I came for her, and I took her by her hand, and we go to the TIC. I don't know how it is in English, sure. And she applied his documents.
Say that again? What word? I'll try to translate.
TIC, it is...
Центральный избирательный комитет? Central election committee.
Like that, yes.
Some body.
Yes.
Governmental.
Yes. So Svetlanos Cichanouskajos was just a technical candidate. And there were some different kinds of this strategy for different situations.
And there was a whole communication campaign with 3 women and so on.
Yes, but this was after that.
After that, all right. I'm getting
I was arrested in the 25th of June, and Mikhail Statkevich was even earlier, at the beginning of June. Right. So everything that was after us, it was not very good. And after elections, I was in prison. I was looking on the footages from Russian television, and it was so sad to look at that, because this constructive opposition around Tikhanovskaya, this office, it is bullshit. It is not revolutionary, guys.
Right. So we will get to the Tikhanovskaya office, the current embodiment of it, momentarily. Let's anchor certain points. So the main organizers of the revolution, let's call it what it is, were Mikhail Statkevich. After Mikhail Statkevich was imprisoned and his team was imprisoned, then most of them. Then Tsepkalo, Tikhanovsky, Babarika, and other prominent people rose. After they got imprisoned or ran from Belarus, then their wives rose to prominence and went on. 2 of the wives dropped out for, mathematical reasons, as I remember it, right? And Svetlana was the only left against Lukashenko. Is this correct sequence of events?
Maybe. I was in prison.
Oh, you were in prison. All right, understand. All right, so you are out of prison for almost half a year.
Yes.
You have seen how mad the world is and how mad the world of Belarusian opposition is.
Oh.
Could you please give us a sitrep? What is the current state of affairs? How many actors do we have in the opposition? Who are the leaders? How many fractions do we have? What are their goals, etc.?
I can speak a lot about that, but I think that the most important is there are 2 big groups. First group is, guys who are not very interested in revolution. They're interested in status quo. They are good here. They have money. This is political business. And there are different guys, they want to overthrow Lukashenko, they want to return to Belarus. Maybe they like Lithuania and Poland and so on, but they are patriots. And they want to come to Belarus and to make this country great again. And there are some existential and ethical problems that we cannot work together. Because if you want to overthrow Lukashenko and I don't want to overthrow Lukashenko, how can we cooperate? It is impossible.
And could you name some of those groups? Because, most viewers only know Svetlana Cichanouskajos. And maybe Zenon Pozniak because he's a prominent Litvinist. So we would like to know more about these groups.
Speaking about first group, this political businessman and businesswoman, it is the office of Svetlanos Cichanouskajos. It is I don't know about Babarika and Kolesnikov, they are newly released, so we will look at them more closely with time, but I don't trust them. And this Rotushka in Poland, this...
Coordination Council.
I don't believe them. I don't believe them 3 times. And the second group is revolutionaries, Европейская Belarus. Olga Karach, maybe Zenon Pozniak, because he's nationalist. I disagree with him in many points, but he really is a tough guy in some cases. Maybe he was not such a tough guy as Nikolai Statkevich because he fled from Belarus. And Nikolai Statkevich is in Belarus. So for Zenon Pozniak, maybe he has some contempt. Maybe, but he is a good guy, I believe, and I think that all these people should cooperate. It is my hope. I have a dream, and I believe that it is possible. I believe it is possible to have Olga Karach and Zenon Pozniak and Nikolai Statkevich and Veronika Tsepkalo in one group. Because, in Народная Громада, there were different people. For example, I was very left-wing. And my friend Valentin Trotsky, who is now fighting for Ukraine, he was right-wing Republican, like McCain and so on. And we worked together for Nikolai Statkevich because we understood that this is a good strategy for Belarus. So we can work together, and then when Belarus will be liberated, we will come to Belarus, and then we will have free elections, and Zenon Pozniak or Olga Karach, they will fight. But now we have to cooperate against Lukashenko.
Have I understood you correctly? You are putting Tikhanovskaya not on the side of the revolutionaries, but on the side who wants to have status quo.
Yes, sure.
But this is a very heavy accusation because they at least try to portray themselves in the public communication as the revolutionaries, as extreme anti-Lukashists, and so on, so on, so on.
Okay.
They state they have a plan to retake Belarus.
Okay, you know about $50,000 from Lukashenko?
You're talking about the envelope that was given to Tikhanovskaya.
For me as a political activist, if you have some relationship with KGB, you should openly state this. At the very moment when you come from your house and you will see the first pedestrian, the first guy on the street, I was spoken with the KGB. Forgive me, please. And then put it on Facebook. But she was silent for 5 long years about that. This is inappropriate even for political activists, not only for some called some
leader of the opposition.
Leader of opposition, yes, it is inappropriate. So why should leader of the opposition lie to us? I don't understand. Then we have a lot of scandals about Gayun. Do you know this Gayun?
No.
Gayun and the Black Book of Belarus and Plan Peramoga and so on. A lot of very bad projects. And a lot of patriots in Belarus were arrested because of this, I don't know, maybe they're idiots. I mean, office of Tikhanovskaya, maybe they're idiots. But maybe they are working with KGB.
Well, I am a huge critic of Svetlanos Cichanouskajos, and I have got a lot of heat for it. I personally do not agree with you. Let's have a discussion of it. I think this was a try from Belarusian KGB to sort of sabotage the Svetlanos Cichanouskajos. They made a provocation with a concrete plan that sometime in the future they could leverage it against her.
Sure.
And I'm saying this because when we are looking at how the information was spread, it firstly began with Natalia Radina. She was the most vocal person. And then every pro-Russian actor, every pro-Russian, pardon my French, cunt, was on it. and they spread it like wildfire. That's why I do not trust this information, that it is a very, like, proper critique of her. I think this was, something that was planned by secret services, and Cichanouskaya just fell victim for it.
I speak again. If you have relations with KGB, you should openly state it.
Yeah, this is maybe a mistake on the communications.
Too many mistakes.
Too many mistakes. Yeah, I agree. I rest my case on that.
Lukashenko's officials around her.
All right.
Too many very strange persons around her, and too many patriots in Belarus were arrested because of very silly projects launched by Svetlanos Cichanouskajos and her office. If you for example, the Black Book of Belarus.
Elaborate on it, please.
There were some democratically influenced officers in Belarusian army and Belarusians internal services. They were against all these repressions, all these murderings and tortures, and they agreed to give democratic resistance some information about these crimes. And it was very dangerous for them. And they gave this information through the chat in Telegram. And maybe not Telegram, I don't remember exactly, but, in informatic security was under the control of working officer of secret services in Belarus. This guy was in Vitebsk. You are, for example, Vincuk Vichorka or Dobrovolsky was some guy who launched this campaign from office Svetlanos Cichanouskajos, yes? And you are picking one guy, you don't know who. You will look about all these security issues. You will have every information about these officers from Belarus, these patriots. I don't know you exactly. Who are you? And this guy was working for special services in Belarus. He was an officer from Vitebsk. Are they dumb as? Or maybe they are working for KGB. I don't know, I don't understand, I don't care. This is crime. And I don't understand why Svetlanos Cichanouskajos was not labeled as a national threat for Lithuania. Because for Lithuania, these patriots, these democratic influenced officers in Belarusian army were friends. And now they are in prison. Now they are tortured.
Yeah. We have mentioned Latushka and Coordination Council in passing. Could you elaborate a little bit about this institution? Because I've seen many interviews of Belarusians who do not understand what the hell that institution is. Nobody understands, it seems.
The Witcher serial.
No, I don't know. The Witcher. Yeah, The Witcher, the Polish.
The first season was not so good.
No, the first season was good and the second season was terrible.
And the third was terrible.
And the third, yeah.
And so on. If your first season is bad, you should stop. First season of this Latushka's council was bad. The second was bad. The third was bad. Now they are going to have the fourth season. Yeah,
and correct me if I'm wrong, I believe the Coordination Council was elected by less than 7,000 people out of 300,000...
6,000.
Something like that, out of 300,000 plus Belarusians in exile.
They are not interested in that.
Yeah, and I've heard there was some kind of controversy about them refusing to do lie detector
yes,
things.
I've heard that.
What's that about? I'm
not a professional in this case because I've heard different opinions about this detector. Some guys they say that this is not scientific, that if you are a real KGB agent, you will lie and nobody will understand with this detector. I don't know. I don't care. So for me, frankly speaking, this whole situation is awful. This whole situation is silly. It's not interesting. It is not politics. It is just political business. And Europeans are supporting Svetlanos Cichanouskajos and this council and so on. They are putting a lot of money on that. And this is waste of money, waste of time.
All right. Let's go... I want to fix certain points so that the viewers will understand us. So in the opposition, we basically have two camps. One camp are people who sit on their hands, essentially everyone who are affiliated with Tikhanovskaya and Coordination Council, as I understand you correctly. And on the other hand, on the other camp, we have revolutionists who are very mixed bunch, who don't like each other very much. We have Zenon Poznak, we have Radina, we have Olga Karach. Well, who else do we have there?
Ooh, anarchists.
Anarchists, yeah, but the names of the organizations, people, because we have, I wouldn't call it kicking out, but Tikhanovskaya has departed Lithuania, and naturally we would like to build an opposition that's an actual opposition that could make a difference. So we would like to know the building materials, the possible building materials. So maybe you could elaborate a little bit more on those organizations, on those actors from the revolutionary side.
You don't like these guys.
Yeah, it's all right. Tell them. We are capable of facing the truth.
First of all, Statkevich.
Yeah.
But he's in Belarus.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have a party now. We should build it from the scratch. Second is European Belarus. Olga Karach. Zenon Poznak. And maybe I don't like him, but he has some support from nationalists, and we need them because a lot of them are fighting for Belarus now.
Yeah. And how about all the grassroots activists like Alana Vasilyeva and so on?
Who?
Alana Vasilyeva, who lives in Kiev.
Alona Vasilyeva.
Oh, maybe I've pronounced it.
Must be Alona.
Alona, Yelena.
Alona was...
Vasilyeva, anyway, Melda Group, I believe,
I've
or
heard about
something like that.
her, but I don't know. Maybe I mix her with somebody.
Right.
I don't know.
So
exactly. There are a lot of grassroots activists, but they are not politicians in general.
Like Beletsky.
Beletsky, good guy, but he is human rights activist. Maybe he will be a politician this time. And I have to name, for example, Vladimir Niklaev. But he is prominent Belarusian poet.
That's her.
I don't remember her. Sorry.
Okay.
And Vladimir Niklaev is a famous poet. Maybe he's a genius. He was candidate for presidency in 2010, and he was very good then. But now he's a little bit tired. But maybe, who knows this time?
Rada BNR from United States? Rada BNR from United States, maybe? The ones who were exiled at the beginning of the 20th century and managed to stay afloat.
It's a symbolic organization. No. And trade union, REP, radio electronic industry, Gennady Fedynich.
Yeah.
He was a very good organizer for workers, and Lukashenko was afraid of him, and he didn't allow him to run for presidency because of this. Maybe Gennady Fedynich will be one of these figures.
You have also a BIPOL organization, which is a sort of, union of every officer, military, secret service, policemen, and so on, who opposed the regime and fled the Belarus. Maybe they could be one of the parties.
Nothing about them.
Almost nothing. Right. So far, it seems like a very grim picture. You either have wankers on the left, or Litvinists and all kinds of, dubious characters on the right.
Maybe for you, some of them are dubious because, for most of Belarusians, they know nothing about Lithuania. And they know nothing about Lithuanian history. So sometimes they're not enemies, they're just silly. And they're maybe uneducated in this matter. Because once I spoke with one prominent politician, I named this politician a few minutes ago, about history with some journalists from Italy, and she said that Suvorov hanged Kalinowski. But Kalinowski was 60 years after Suvorov was dead. You know, for many of us, history is not so important.
There's another guy, what's his name? The hanger.
Muravjov.
Muravjov, the hanger.
Yes, not Suvorov.
At first I was always also baffled. All right, let's finish up with Tikhanovskaya. Could you a little bit elaborate, maybe, or shed some light on what does her office do, or maybe in this case, what does her office not do?
She is making some business.
Business. What is the business model?
You know, I have Polish Salon 24 site published an article about this business in Poland. You know, for Polish citizens, one day of work of this Svetlanos Cichanouskajos office is 7,430 euro a day.
Who is paying that money?
Poland.
Poland, all right.
So, average Polish citizen, 316 average.
And how about her stay in Lithuania? Was also Poland also renting her, sort of, so to say?
Lithuania was renting her, and now.
But we only paid for her.
Security
and for her I forgot how it's called in English. Basically for her living things and circumstances.
And now he lives in very not cheap, but
simple.
No, very rich quarter.
Ah, right.
And it will be 2,712,000 euro a year for Polish
taxpayers.
Yes.
All right. So
maybe this is a defamation. Then Svetlanos Cichanouskajos should sue this Salon 24, and everything will be okay.
We will ask you to share the link of this article so that the viewers could investigate for themselves. My opponents and everyone who supports Tikhanovskaya says that she's a great leader, so to say. She is representing Belarusian question, the question of Belarus in international scene. She is trying to consolidate various non-governmental organizations and distribute funds for them. She is also trying to help the Belarusian diaspora locally, either with schools or material things and so on. How about that?
She is very good in working with money, with financial streams, and with media. For example, if some media will criticize Tikhanovskaya, this media will not have money from Europeans, because Europeans give money to Tikhanovskaya or to some other funds which are influenced by Tikhanovskaya, and to the same media who are working for Tikhanovskaya. And for example, if you are Radina, you will not have this money.
Yeah. Understandable. How about all that, representation of Belarusian question? Is she doing a good job?
I don't know. Before her, there were different guys, and they made amazing work. And after 2020, there was a real interest in Belarus because of this revolution, because of this uprising. And a lot of guys from all over the world, they look at us and say, "Oh, this nation is really interesting," because from 10 millions, maybe even 9 millions, half of millions was at the demonstrations. Even when Lukashenko tortured and imprisoned and shoot some of these people, but half of millions were on the streets, good guys. So there was really big interest in us. And even a cat will make a good job in this situation. In 2020, I said to Mikhail Statkevich that maybe you should put on presidency not 40 guys, 40 human beings, but maybe also one cat. It will be great because cat will be...
We have Shirinskinas cats in Lithuania. Yeah.
Chaco.
Yeah.
Very good candidate.
One of the main arguments for Tikhanovskaya is that she has a lot of support, supposedly, from Belarusians. Is this true or not?
I don't believe that. We don't have real sociology even here. But a lot of political activists doesn't like her. And in general, Belarusians in exile are not interested in politics whatsoever now. Because of work of Tikhanovskaya.
Right. I would like to share my experience. I was near the Belarusian embassy and I saw a protest and just happened to be on the occasion, on the right moment. Cichanouskajos came in and she brought with her more journalists, reporters and cameramen than there were originally the protesters.
Yes.
And from what I've seen from afar, it seemed like protesters told her to go away. What's that about?
We don't like
This is my impression. I don't know whether that's true. Just maybe you could shed some light on that.
We believe that she is a traitor.
Yeah, understandable. So basically, that's why they shunned her.
Yes, yes.
That simple, a traitor.
A traitor.
Understandable.
Maybe she is not openly working for KGB, but she is not real revolutionary.
Ah.
All right. We have talked about the opposition. Now let's talk about people who are fighting in Ukraine.
Oh.
I've seen articles comparing numbers of how many Belarusians fight in Russia, and I've tried to, well, I've seen articles investigating and trying to find out how many Belarusians fight on Russian side, and I've tried to sort of project how many Belarusians have fought in Ukraine for Ukraine. So according, I believe it was Euro Radio, although I would need to double check, 1,200 Belarusians fight for Russian side, and maybe even more if we count from the invasion of Crimea. And about 700 to 800, this is top numbers, that could be like, reliably based for Ukraine, yeah. Is this accurate? What do you think?
I am not the right guy to ask that, but I think that there are more Belarusians who are fighting for Ukraine than for Russia.
Oh, really? Because the public information says the vice versa. The vice versa. That about from 1/3 to a quarter more Belarusians have fought for Russia.
Many occasions, yeah.
Yes, maybe. I'm not an expert.
Right.
I know that maybe 100 were dead.
Yes, that's true. I think it's closer to 200 now.
Yes,
yeah.
and they were fighting for Ukraine from the beginning of war.
Yeah,
and the first guy shot in Maidan was Belarusian origin, Жилиневский. He was from Belarus, yes. And my friend is fighting here, Valentin Trotsky, in battalion Timura, GRU. Yes. Yes.
How many fractions of organizations do we have on the side of Ukraine? Because most people are only familiar with Paul Kalinowski, but I trust we have many more.
They have also GRU. For GRU is fighting Belarusian corpus.
Yeah.
And battalion Timur. And battalion terror. Some time ago it was terror. Now it is Timur. I know not a lot about this, but I know what I know. When the war started in 2022, a lot of Belarusians they hoped that there would be a counterattack from Ukraine to Belarus. They volunteered because of that, but Ukrainians said them not. No hope, no deal. There will be no attack on Belarus. So they were very sad about that, and a lot of guys didn't want to fight after that. And legal status. Only now they have some kind of hope for legal status in Ukraine. A lot of guys were fighting for Ukraine and they have nothing. And for example, they come to Lithuania, Lithuania label them as a threat to national security. They came to Poland, they are in concentration camp with Arabs and so on. This guy was fighting for Europe. Sorry, it is not appropriate. And this is why of questions for Tikhanovskaya. What does she did for these guys? And then one of these fighters, she came to Vietnam, and Vietnam arrested him and Belarus took this guy to prison, and we don't know what is going on with him. And this is awful situation. Yeah. And after that, a lot of Belarusians, they doesn't like Ukraine. And doesn't want to fight for Ukraine. But I believe that Ukrainian government will make good choices in future. Because, after the 2020, there was a record in trade between Lukashenko's regime and Ukraine. 2 years. And we said, my comrades said to Ukrainians, what are you doing? There will be a war. Nikolai Statkevich said about this in 2015, about Belarusian attack, because there were a lot of facts about it, a lot of facts, and they didn't listen to us, and they trade with Lukashenko. They supported him. Maybe by their words they were against dictatorships and so on, but what we see in real life, they supported Lukashenko.
There's another thing on my mind. We have been bad-mouthing Tikhanovskaya for a while now. If she's so bad, so terrible, why do so many EU politicians and so many Lithuanian politicians who we consider to be professionals, Ingrida Šimonytė, Rasa Juknevičienė, Kubilius, so on, support her?
I believe it is a great mistake, because Lukashenko is the real threat for Lithuania. It may be even more than Putin, because Putin is maybe a little bit shy guy.
Yeah, but there's a little bit of disconnection here. We're talking about Tikhanovskaya. Why is everyone supporting her if she's so bad?
Because it was very bad politics, very bad speculations, very bad analysis.
Basically, a systematic error.
Are you suggesting we have so many naive people on our side?
Maybe naive. Maybe some of them are working for KGB.
This sounds like a little bit of a conspiracy theory. Everyone's a KGB officer.
KGB is very good organization, very professional. It was in Soviet Union. So there are some connections. Because 1991 was not so far for us. It's not so far. 30 years, maybe 40 years. I don't. I'm not very good in mathematics, but some guys, they were agents in their youth, and KGB has some compromise on them, for example, yes. And maybe some politicians can be corrupted after that. And so on. Russians are very good in these dirty games.
All right. I have to grill you and Belarusian opposition in general here, even the revolutionaries. Svetlana Cichanouskajos and maybe Latushka are the only ones who are speaking to media of the West in English. Janis Kuczynski is the only one who's speaking to us in Lithuanian. Good Russians are making press conferences in French at Paris. And this is some kind of Fermi paradox. Where is all those Belarusian oppositioners? Why we only hear about Tikhanovskaya?
Maybe because of your media. Maybe because of democratic media of Belarus, which are paid by these funds.
Basically, we are talking about here about Nashoniva, Pozok, and maybe someone else.
Belsat and so on. Olga Karach is rather famous in the West.
Yeah, I know
so, and she speaks English, maybe not the best English, but it is better than mine. For Belarusians, Lithuania in general is a small country, and we doesn't know a lot of about this. I love Lithuania, but for a lot of Belarusians, they don't know about you anything. Poland, yes, Poland is different situation, but Lithuania, no. Second, good Russians. In Russia, there are a lot of clever people. Because country is very big, and Belarus, for centuries, the most clever people were turned from this country. They are put in prison, they are killed, they are in exile, and so on. So much politicians from Israel, we discussed this in car, and so much, for example, Kostyushka, he was born in Belarus. He is a national hero of America. Why? Because he was in exile.
Yeah, but it doesn't explain why Deutsche Welle, BBC, CNN, so on, invite Tikhanovskaya, but they don't invite, for example, people that you have mentioned.
Olga Karach is cooperating with a lot of journalists, yes. I see this.
All right, but once again, this is a very grim picture from our perspective. We either have Tikhanovskaya, who is, not doing much, or we have, as our secret services proclaim, KGB agents on the other side. So it's not much of a choice,
I think that secret services should think again about Olga Karach.
All right, I will not push on this anymore. Thank you. How would you fix this, both political and mundane domestic issues of Belarusian diaspora?
We should just work.
How?
It is very hard work.
What's the very first step?
Our politics is working like a spiral. We have waves. In 2020, we were at the top. Now we are at the beginning of new wave. I believe in this. And I believe then maybe 2 years in future, maybe 5 years in future, we will have another revolution. And then we will have new leaders. And maybe some leaders of the past, maybe even Zivon Pozniak will work. I don't like this. But if he will savior, okay, even Pozniak, I want my country to be free.
A while ago, there was an event at Seimas, and 15 or some similar amount of organizations were invited. What was that about? How did it went?
5 of these guys were openly criticized Tikhanovskaya. 5
and the rest
15.
Defended her?
No, some of them were from the office, 3 of them. And others were neutral in general.
They were polite.
They were polite. For example, they are not politicians. They are working for humanitarian issues, for example. They try to help Belarusians, or they have some political business, different guys. But when 1/3 of these guys are openly against Tikhanovskaya, this is some kind of symbol. This is some kind of sign.
Yeah. And what have you talked to our politicians? Was there any initiative from our side to try to build some kind of proper Belarusian opposition body?
We told about new format of cooperation because now Svetlanos Cichanouskajos has hegemony.
Yes.
Because all these meetings are organized by, I don't know why, by office of Svetlanos Cichanouskajos. Svetlanos Cichanouskajos offended Lithuania. She said that if you will not pay this $1 million a year for my how it will be in English, defense, I will go to Poland. And she fled to Poland. It is offensive. It was offensive. And now she has in Seimas this hegemony. I don't think it is normal.
Accommodation. That's the word I was looking for her accommodation. All right. Let's see what we have next on the list. What kind of problems Belarusian diaspora has? I mean, I'm not talking about high speech, like political things. I'm talking about simple daily problems that Belarusians experience because they are in exile.
The most important fear for us is deportation. You know,
When I'm looking at Pauk, it doesn't seem so.
Pauk.
Whatever.
oh, he's punk.
He's a cunt. He's not a punk. He's a
maybe
cunt.
stupid. But it's not about
Recently
me.
he was promoting this Igor Zhitkov, who's a...
Branded me a chauvinist.
I know
less.
nothing about this.
Yeah, but you know, Pauk provoked Lithuanians for not speaking Russian. He also came with Palestinian flag to the rally that was pro-Ukrainian rally that was organized by a person of Jewish descent. He is also involved with the scam of SIM cards and so on, so on, so on. And he also once upon a time shared hardcore Litvinistic content, though most likely someone advised him to retract that information. But I have screenshot for that.
I don't like his deeds. But you know, it is a democratic country.
Why Belarusian diaspora doesn't do anything about it? Because it seems that Belarusian diaspora is very content with his actions.
I don't like his actions. I speak it openly, even in his channel. I was in his channel maybe 3 times. And I don't agree with him, but you know, in democracy there are some stupid guys who are shouting stupid things, and it is sometimes we have to just to have some temper.
Yeah. I have sort of stepped on your foot a little bit. So the main phase is deportation. What next? What else?
Deportation. You know, today I was spoken. I had a meeting with one guy. He has permission to live here, and his family not. He was a political migrant to Lithuania, and now after 2 years in Lithuania, his family could be deported, and his young son will go to army and fight against Lithuania, and it is very very difficult situation, and we fear about these guys, especially about this young man, because conscription in Belarusian army, it is awful. It's awful.
So you don't think that our systems, especially the Ministry of Interior, don't work fine? They are making mistakes. There are errors.
Maybe you know, we Belarusians are very good enemies. It is very easy to fight against migrants. Very easy. Sometimes it is not very clever. You know, British historian and military scientist Littleguard, he said that British Empire won the Second World War because our British German scientists were better than German scientists, because best minds of Germany fled from the Third Reich. And now we have the same situation. Best minds of Belarus, best minds of Russia, they fled to Europe. And here, what do we see? Sometimes we are labeled as threats. For example, one mathematician in Sweden, I believe, she is labeled as a national threat for Sweden because her inventions could be used by FSB. So Sweden can deport her to Russia, and she will work for Russian FSB. Very clever.
That's a little bit excessive. I agree on that one. I'm not naming individuals. I'm talking, in general. Migrants. Belarusians are traveling back and forth between Vilnius and Minsk. And Svetlanos Cichanouskajos encourages it, well, her office representatives, especially Janis Kuczynski, labeling it a window for Belarusians to European world. What the hell is that about?
I think that it is not very good that some guys who are supporting Lukashenko's regime and war in Ukraine are traveling to Lithuania. This is awful. But you know, when you will have this iron curtain, how our comrades will come here? Maybe
they come and they don't leave. That's the idea and the point.
It would be great. I like this. But maybe if they will have permission to stay here. They will not be afraid that they will be deported because Lithuanian officials will say that you were not protesting and so on and so on, but they lived here for 5 years. They deleted all the data. Because, you know, if you are going on the street in Belarus, the officials can come to you and look to your phone. And if you will have some photos, some subscriptions, you will go to jail.
So basically, the burden of proof is very high. You sometimes cannot prove that you are in danger by the regime until it's too late, until you are actually beaten up or arrested or so on.
So maybe Lithuania should have some political decision made. Some wise political decision.
I think it's more about resources. I don't think we have allocated enough resources so that we would check every single Belarusian properly, you know, sort of accommodate him through the system and make him a legal migrant.
Maybe you should give these Belarusians to different countries, in other countries, maybe to Sweden, maybe to Canada, maybe to Australia.
Who prohibits Belarusians from going there? They can go there
I think
free will?
Dublin Treaty.
Double threatening?
Dublin
Treaty, all right. Because, I understand what... I don't understand the context, so I'm sorry for not being able to elaborate. But basically, if you are
it's across the border of Lithuania.
If you are a refugee, you cannot go to any other country. You have to stay at the country that accepted you. That's the whole idea of it. How about the sanctions on the regime? For example, Kolesnikova and Babarika, they are somewhat, you know, foolish. Svetlanos Cichanouskajos is, well, we can congratulate her on this behalf. She is pretty adamant.
I think that in this case, office of Svetlanos Cichanouskajos is it's normal. It's normal. I think that you should press sanctions on Belarus, and these sanctions have been pressed in the year of 2020, not in the year of 2021. These sanctions were too light, too polite, and for guys like Lukashenko and Putin, they think that Europeans do not have balls.
Right. And how about trading political prisoners for sanctions? Or for lifting sanctions?
This is human trafficking. You know, in the German communistic states, they also used political prisoners as a commodity. They trade with Western democratic Germany with these guys, and it is normal. I believe that sanctions could be lifted only after democratization in Belarus, when everybody will be released and when we will be able to go to Belarus and to participate in free elections.
Basically, everyone released, Lukashenko and his inner circle abdicate, you come back, and that is the only way when sanctions can be released, lifted.
Because now Belarus is really part of Russia. And it is working against Ukraine, it is working against Lithuania, and now there is a threat. Lukashenko or Mikhail Statkevich just published an article about threat to Lithuania and Latvia because Russia could use nuclear missiles, nuclear bombs from the soil of Belarus against Latvia and Lithuania. And this is a real scenario. And in this situation, you should not lift these sanctions.
Right. What is your opinion on our prohibition for Belarusians and Russians to acquire real estate, weapons, and so on?
I think that it is not good. I think that you should prohibit to have weapons and real estate to those who are supported war in Ukraine or Lukashenko or Putin, even if they are not Belarusians and Russians. And if some guy from Belarus is against Russia, against Lukashenko, he is your friend.
We don't have enough powers to discern who's wrong and who's bad guy and who's a good guy.
Difficult situation, difficult for you. But you know, when Russians will come here, first to shoot will be us, not you.
Because they will be branded traitors.
Yes.
Yeah.
It means the first to be shot will be you,
Will be me.
not us.
And Olga Karach.
No, I think that's bollocks. Everybody will be shot.
No. First of all, traitors.
Maybe you will be tortured a little bit before shooting. Maybe that would be a more accurate spin.
Maybe Lithuanian nationalists, Lithuanian politicians, Lithuanian poets, Lithuanian painters, and us. And all the other populations of Lithuania, they will be not shot.
Well, it's quite simple. If we give a permit for good guys from Belarus and Russia to carry a gun, and it's 1 out of 100 who's a good guy, truly a nice person and reliable, and he's fine to concealed carry, I mean, and then we have 99 unchecked, potentially pro-Russian cunts who will shoot us.
Yes, maybe you are right.
When the time comes.
It always comes back to the resources. We don't have enough money, we don't have enough manpower to do everything.
Yeah.
Maybe I can say how should you lose this situation. Maybe you should have some military training for these guys and take weapons with you. Some guys will come to Lithuanian armed forces, for example. Some guys will fight for Lithuanian battalion in Ukraine, for example, from Belarus. It will be great. It will be not so dangerous.
It has other risks in this case, because if on occasion we train bad guys, it's only a matter of smuggling the guns via the border.
It's way worse than being nice to really nice people from Belarus.
It is up to you to decide.
Yeah, all right.
And it's ironic that people from Russia and Belarus are very mad about this law of us.
I believe this law comes from the lessons learned from events in Kiev. When a lot of spies were living in one flat, like 12 or 14 guys, in their 40s living in one flat, and other people from fifth column shooting at the backs of the defenders because they had guns and they were not Ukrainian citizens. And in some cases they were Belarusian citizens, though in many cases they had dual citizenship of Ukraine and Russia. So I believe it comes from that background.
Fierce criticism of this very law. That I'm talking about guns, concealed carry, just in this case.
Maybe
it's very outspoken. I mean, I know personally, well, from Facebook, and some of them are personally, I've seen them in the flesh. They are so vocal about this thing and so are furious about our state being defendant in this case and calling us some banana republic, neglecting human rights just because we don't give the right to carry a gun for people who come from countries like Russia. It's very
short-sighted.
No, I mean, it's very systematic.
For me to decide.
I've seen you commenting about landmines and our treatise on it. So what's that about?
Oh, Olga Karach is pacifist. And her organization is working in cooperation with pacifist organizations. And now she's in alliance with two organizations, Nobel Prize winners. And one of these organizations is against landmines. My personal opinion, I think that anti-personnel mines and nuclear weapons should be prohibited. But this is for the future. And this is after this war. And this is for all the world, not only for...
This is very idealistic, because without anti-personnel landmines, we are incapable of defending.
Now, yes, for you it is very important.
Yeah.
Yes.
All this pacifism in the face of aggression, for me, it's treason.
Einstein was a pacifist.
And then he helps to create nuclear weapons.
Yes, after that, yes. This is history. Human rights organizations, you need them because maybe sometimes they are crazy, but you cannot have democracy without these crazy guys. And they will criticize you. Maybe
we do need some whistleblowers, of course, but broadly speaking, pacifists are to blame for all wars in the history of mankind, in my opinion.
Maybe in some cases, but I think that chauvinists are much more to be how it will
to
be
blamed.
To be blamed. To blame.
Okay. They're not good guys. I'm not whitewashing them. I mean, just the stupidity and naiveness of pacifists. It's, in my opinion, it's the main reason for all wars.
Naivety is one of the reasons, because when you're forcing a criminal, you should beat him in his face. It's normal. You are defending yourself. But we need pacifists also.
Well, it's appeasement. We've been through this. Yeah.
Appeasement is bad. Is bad. You know, your politicians were working like this. You tried to appease Lukashenko. Yesterday, I was looking at photo Grybauskaitė with Lukashenko. Such a good friendship.
No. Grybauskaitė, I have to correct you. Grybauskaitė was adamant on Lukashenko. No friendship, no nothing. We can only do fertilizers on a limited amount.
Yes.
That's it. And she was one of the bricks on stopping the politicians of that day from collaborating with Lukashenko's regime.
The official statements were different.
Well, regardless of the fact, she's seen in the photos fraternizing with him, but it was very, very long time ago. So she corrected herself.
Yeah, and it maybe have been an official visit, but not on nothing on the scale of let's get in bed with Lukashenko.
Okay, speaking about pacifists, Olga Karach is working with guys who don't want to serve for Russia and for Belarus. And they are fleeing from these countries, objectors, they call them. And this is good for Ukraine, this is good for Lithuania. And now we are working on one case of Sergei. He is objector from Belarus. He was an officer 20 years ago, for 2 years. And then he became a welder, and he went to the opposition meetings and so on. And after 2020, he fled from Belarus here. And now, because of his military service, 20 years ago, he is a national threat. Sorry.
Well, as we have mentioned, we have very limited resources, and we have to take a lot of shortcuts in this regard. So, you look at the resume, you see that this is a potential threat. I'm sorry, that's game over. Let's move on to the next one. And no, that's whole day, every day.
We follow
cases of hundreds and
the
thousands.
lesser evil, so to say.
I don't think that this is a lesser evil, because if this guy will be deported, he will serve against Ukraine or against Poland or against Latvia and so on.
We are being a little bit selfish, if I could frame it this way.
I don't think that this is selfish.
But in a necessary way.
To us.
Maybe, but this is not justice.
I know.
No. We simply have, a scales, and on one side we have a little bit of evil, the one that you are describing, and on the other side we have a very big evil, the one that Olga is describing, and we're simply making a very difficult choice to do the lesser one.
With all due respect to truly good guys, to the heroes of Belarus, that's the way it is, unfortunately.
If somebody was serving for Belarusian army 20 years ago, he couldn't be labeled only on this as a threat to national security.
I'm talking about a system, but not about the sole examples of this decent person. I believe he's decent.
This is system. Sorry, but this is system.
Yeah, and it is,
why Latushka is not a threat? Because Latushka was working for Lukashenko 20 years.
Actually, that's a good example.
That's a good question.
That's a very good example. Latushka has maybe some political support, and not every single Belarusian could have that. Maybe that's the case.
This is unjust, and this is silly. Because, for example, one guy was working for nuclear station, yes?
You know, if
older.
if 100 million would fall out of the sky and we could give it to our secret services and Ministry of Interior, I would gladly do it and would gladly implement all those things that you are talking about. But since we don't have
But then again, it's good
that money,
you're raising these questions about Latushka, and we are going to air that.
And it's good that we're...
around Svetlanos Cichanouskajos are former Lukashenko's officers.
And it's good that we are discussing these, domestic issues, because we, me and Olgis, we are great supporters of our security services, as I have mentioned, and I do consider the measures that we are implementing the best ones that we could. But we need to see the full picture and the story of the other side. That's the point why we are, arguing with you and pulling you by the tongue a little bit. All right, my main topic of today, Litvinism. We have talked extensively. Yes. You have a foundational understanding of this. Would you agree that the way Belarusians look at history and their national identity is problematic?
I am not nationalist. I am left-wing.
Yeah.
I am feminist. I am masculist.
You
I
can
am
be both.
anarchist, and so on.
You can be both left-wing and nationalist in the good sense of this word, nationalist.
I am maybe patriot, but I am not.
That's the same.
Nationalist. I am not very interested in history.
Okay.
From political point of view, I don't care about where the borders were 100 years ago. Why? We should look to the future. It's my way of doing things.
Yeah, but I'm talking about current state of affairs.
Yes.
It is problematic. Would you agree?
Yes. Right. Sometimes it is problematic.
So far, you've been pulling the card of we don't have sociology. I'm taking away that card from you. How widespread it is? Because we have very different opinions. For example, Ales Bielai is saying that this is mass psychosis on Belarusian side. And we have people from Svetlanos Cichanouskajos who are dismissing this issue altogether. We have sociologists on Belarusian side like Lastovsky who are saying that there is a very prominent narrative that Lithuanians have stolen Belarusian national identity, and this is the reason why Belarusians are unable to make a proper state, proper society, and Lithuanians are to blame for everything. Yet, for example, people like Vydas Jurkonis, who are working with Belarusians closely, we have to admit that, he's saying that it's non-existent. So where is the truth? What is your opinion? Please don't use the card, we don't have sociology.
Okay, I can agree with both. Ales Bielai is right and Tikhanovskaya is right, but in different senses of this. For many Belarusians, history is not very important because they are not nationalists, or sometimes they are newborn nationalists, and in this case they are really nationalists, they are really chauvinists, and they are really Litvinists in this bad sense of the word.
If we try to put a number on it, percentage, how many Lithuanians do we have?
To say, but
like a ballpark. We don't hold it over your head at any time. Give us a ballpark. 20, 30, 50%.
Difficult to say. Maybe 50, but in different
Holy shit! I never went that far. I always said 15-20%.
A lot, because historical issues are very difficult, and sometimes guys who are really nationalists, I speak about them, about nationalists, they want to be proud of this great history and so on, and this is bullshit. Americans do not have any great history if we look at their revolution. No history, but they made good state without.
Latvians, Finnish also would be a good example.
Yes, the same. So it is not so important for us, but some guys, maybe they are timid, maybe they are not very clever, maybe they are disillusioned.
Let's be fair. Nationalism and national myths is a good thing. Why are you keeping those things in the sack of some bad connotation, for God's sake?
Maybe for somebody...
sorry for patronizing him.
I am not ethno-nationalist, so my personal opinion, this is not important for nation.
Being an ethno-nationalist, it's nothing wrong with that, until it becomes ethno-chauvinist. So let's Let's keep
border
those
is-
things different.
Sometimes it's very difficult to keep the border.
It's like blaming a fireplace as being a true reason for a fire of your house.
Okay, we do not need national myths.
You don't?
We need facts. And
Well, national myths is a very
we
good
should
thing.
love our country. We should love our...
You know, the problem is that for us Lithuanians, it's very easy to say national myths are a good thing because our national myths align with historical facts and historical science pretty well. We have certain discrepancies like Birutė and so on,
Yeah.
and Lithuania being this great, powerful
Horses
state.
drinking seawater. And
That's, you know, up for debate still. I've shown you the video.
Yeah.
It is very easy for us to say because our myths align with historical facts properly, pretty well. With, not 100%, but pretty well. With Belarusians, I'm sorry, but if we look at historical facts, it doesn't look very nice. And whenever you are presented those historical facts, from my experience, hysteria follows. These are bad historians.
I'm going to be a good cop for you.
Yeah, these are bad historians. They know nothing. You are a chauvinist. Go read a Russian book.
Okay, we put a different meaning on this word myth.
Yeah.
For me, myth is lie, some kind of lying.
Oh, all right.
And I prefer facts. I prefer real history, but I'm not a historian, so I don't really care about that. I think that historians should write history. And for me, as a political activist, I just need some truth about that. And I do not need any myth to go further for the future. Because I think that our country will have bright future without any history. Even when all the Belarusians will go to Mars, we will have a good state because the Belarusian nation is good. Because we are European in good sense of this word. We have some bad sides. It's obvious as any nations, but we are not the worst. So we will have good future. And this is important for me, not history. But speaking about history, yes, there are some misunderstandings in Belarusian community because I have said previously that Belarusians in general are not very interested in history. And sometimes
Be interested in a good story.
Sometimes they read one or two books from some propagandists. And that's all. And they have some worldview. This is sometimes false. And speaking about Lithuania, I've spoken already that for Belarusians, we do not understand Lithuanians in general because we are very mentally close to you, but you have different language and you have different situation. Your country is small, and for general Belarusian guy, he has no time to learn Lithuanian language, to understand what are you saying, what do you thinking about, and so on.
But you know, it doesn't require learning. It requires decency and truthfulness.
And work.
Yeah, and work. But you know, I have met and communicated with a lot of Belarusians who are the dead example of what I've given. Western historians are bad historians. Go read a Belarusian book, for example.
They are bribed by us.
Yeah, and go read Krosevich, who is a proper historian.
To bribe.
Yeah, go read Krosevich, who is a proper historian, doctor of historian sciences, and who writes nothing of actual science. So this is, you know, a very, very difficult situation where you have to deal with people who are in denial.
You know, I have something I've called Sparish formula. Our historical heritage is 40% Kievan Rus. Because this is our beginning. Vikings and Kiev and then Polotsk and Turov and so on. It's not our beginning, it's our base. Rus, Belarus. Then the great duchy of Lithuania. Yes, this was founded by Belts and so on, and Baltic nobles.
Not Balts, us.
Okay. It doesn't matter for me because
Because this is a very, I'm sorry for interrupting, because this is a very important narrative that those Balts who established and expanded the Grand Duchy of Lithuania were different Balts.
Yeah.
They were not us, which is bullshit.
they were very close to you.
No, they were us.
1,000 years ago,
Yes.
Belarusians were not the same and Lithuanians were not the same, but you are their descendants. This will be proper.
Yeah, and you know, we can share this view if we agree that Belarusians are not the descendants of those people.
In some kind they are, because I am from Gardinas, and here there are a lot of guys with Lithuanian blood.
Yeah, but you know, we end up in that...
They speak different language.
Yeah, but you know, we end up in that interesting situation where a small slither of ethnographic Lithuania is in Belarus, and in most cases, states would have some kind of, you know, territorial claims for the other state. And Belarusians did the vice versa. Because of that small sliver, they decided that they are the people of that small sliver. They did the complete opposite.
Not all of them.
All right, we will come back to this in a moment because I have a very provocative question for you.
This. And what did I say about
Sparish formula? We are on Sparish formula.
A lot of Lithuanians lived in Ukraine, for example, and Ukrainians also have some blood in their veins from Lithuanians.
Yeah, but you know, it's not about genetics. It's about, you know, cultural, political dependency to one
We are
group
different, but
and continuation of that group.
Influenced by
Yeah, the influence is definitely
yes.
there. Definitely.
So in some case, we are descendants also of these guys. So it is also part of our history. I don't want to steal it from you, and I do not say that you are stealing from me. But I say that for me this is also mine. Is this meaning, normal meaning? For example, Mickiewicz and so on. The third 40% is Poland. Mickiewicz is national poet of Poland, and he is from Novogrodok. It's our poet.
Have you read the quote I have provided you about Mickiewicz?
Yes.
What he has said about Belarusians?
He was Polish nationalist and so on, but Litvovičizna moja, to jest zdrowie and so on. For me, it is my poetry.
All right, so I just want to clarify for the viewers what we were talking about. So basically, Adam Mickiewicz, when he left Lithuania, he went to Paris and he held lectures about Slavic literature. And in lecture, I believe 15, he's talking about Lithuania, because it is impossible to understand Slavic literature if we do not understand Lithuania. And there is a very good description about who are Lithuanians, who is VIDAUS, and who are Lithuanian warriors, and what is their attitude towards other nations. And it is almost the quote. Lithuanians portray Lenkas, he writes in Polish, but he uses Lithuanian word Lenkas as a noble knight, and Gudas, he uses Lithuanian word as well, raises disgust in Lithuanians. And this is, you know, a very good example of who Mickiewicz was, who Lithuanians were, and what were their relations to the neighboring nations.
I like this word, Gudas. I like this because it is like gods.
Yeah, it is exactly the meaning. It derived from that.
And I like this myth.
Yeah, it derived from that.
And another 20%, the last 20% is Russian, Soviet, Jews, Tatars, and so for us there is very rich cultural heritage, and we doesn't need to steal from you because only 20% is yours.
Right. No, I mean, how many percent of ours?
20, because 40 from Rus, 20 from
No,
you.
yours.
20.
You have 20%, but how many percent are left for us?
In our heritage?
No, in Lithuania, in Grand Duchy of Lithuania.
It's our history.
It's my history, right? Good.
And it is also our history for 20% because we lived in this country.
Yeah, it's
but
absolutely fair.
Our history is much more rich than yours.
Absolutely fair.
Isn't there some air of Litvinism embedded in the history course in Belarusian schools?
Maybe, but also Russian chauvinism also. You know, in Soviet times there was book wrote by Abecedarsky. It was historian, Stalinist, and he said that there was no Belarusian history. We were only slaves and so on, and only with Soviet Union we now can go to the future. It was not very good, and nationalists were very bad feelings about that, so they protested. And with this protest, sometimes they pushed the limits, and it was bullshit and so on.
Would you agree that this Litvinism narrative is a threat for Lithuania?
I think that the main threat for Lithuania is Lukashenko and Putin. But in some cases, this Litvinistic propaganda can be used. But they can use everything. They can use, for example, you speak Russian or you speak Baltic language, and this Baltic language is in reality some kind of bad Russian. They can imagine everything. But there is some threat because they can say that, in the beginning of the 20th century, Vilnius was part of Soviet Union, of Poland, and then in 1940, when Lithuania became a part of Soviet Union, we gave to Lithuanians Vilnius, and this is not good, and so on, and they can play this card. It is possible, but I don't think that it is about Litvinism. I think that it is about Russism, like Gerhard Rudaev named it. Russism, it's like fascism, like national socialism. Now they have Putinism and Russism, and this is a real threat for Lithuania.
The recent trend of uniting both endeavors, I mean, pro-Belarusian and pro-Russian, and Litvinist are becoming one recently.
Yeah, actually, I wanted to point this out. For example, Lukashenko's propaganda mouth, Marzaluk, he's a professional historian, and whenever he's speaking about the history of Grand Duchy of Lithuania, he's a very moderate Litvinist. There's absolutely a lot of false narratives, but this is not a full-on blown Litvinism where we are relegated to Samodžišė. He's essentially questioning whether the Mindaugas domain was mostly Lithuanian. He thinks it's some kind of gray area, that everything started in Novgorod, and when he's speaking about the Grand Duchy of Lithuania, when it comes to the 19th century, he blends the Russism and Litvinism seamlessly. He starts quoting Russian officers. He starts referring to Russian pseudo-historians, and essentially claiming that Lithuania was just White Ruthenia, and that White Ruthenia is the part of Great Russia. And it sort of, fits like a puzzle. And also is a very, very, very suitable piece of Dugin propaganda. To be honest, Dugin propaganda is somewhat a little bit out of fashion. It seems that they are changing the narratives, but it's also a very nice piece for them, where Grand Duchy of Lithuania becomes a Slavic country, somewhat of a rival for Moscow, but still an integral part of Russian world.
Another Russia.
Yeah, which is not, this is completely inaccurate, as we have discussed.
Belarusian nationalistic revival has had some bad times. It has very difficult history, and sometimes it was under pressure of Russian propaganda. Yes,
it still is. And
still is in some cases. Marzaluk is an example that you can be nationalist and you can be anti-democratic in Belarus. Sometimes in Belarusian opposition, they say that you should be nationalist, but a lot of nationalists are fascists. For example, some countries like Tajikistan and Turkmenistan, they're very nationalist, and they are much closer to North Korea than even Belarus. It is not very good. And Marzaluk is nationalist, and he is pro-Lukashenko. For me, it is the most important statement in this. What's about Litvinism and Russism? Maybe sometimes it was influenced.
It overlaps. Yeah,
It
But it is not the
overlaps
same.
big time.
the victim. And as I have presented to you, we have tracked those narratives all the way back to 15th century. It is definitely, the source of those narratives are definitely Kremlin. And on those false narratives, Belarusians have essentially built their national revival.
From 15th century, you know,
Well, I want to clarify. Litvinism per se was formed in the 19th century, but all the pieces, the Lego details, they're coming all the way back from earlier centuries.
you know, Nikolai Statkevich is one of descendants of so-called dissidents. You know who were dissidents. In,
Please
the great
clarify.
duty. When there was Brest Union.
Yeah, Brest Union, yeah.
Yes, of churches.
Yeah, I know.
To Belarusian Shlachta, to nobles, they were forced to go to Catholic Church.
Partly true. Essentially, the Orthodoxes became loyal to Pope. They kept the rite, they kept certain traditions, but essentially they became Catholic.
Yes, no, but some guys were very proud of their Orthodox heritage.
Yeah, and it was Lithuanian Shlachta sort of honorable duty to convert every single Ruthenian in the Grand Duchy for at least Uniate or better on full-blown Catholic.
Mistake. It was a mistake, I believe, because our Orthodox church was not Muscovite church. It was a little bit different church.
Yeah, it had different metropolites. Yeah.
Yes, and it was really, really bad story. You know about Bogdan Khmelnytsky?
Yeah.
It was a disaster.
Yes.
And the same was in Belarus.
Let's clarify for the viewers. Mid-17th century,
Yes.
Ukrainians decide that this is bullshit. They want equal rights with Lithuanians and with Poles. Lithuanians, after certain negotiations, agree. And at one point, there was slight possibility of three-part Commonwealth. But Polish said that they must become Catholic, and Khmelnytsky said no way. And it went full-on rebellion. Then Radvila Jonušas with Lithuanian army came in to pacify the uprising. They managed after some time. And later on, during the deluge, when Vilnius was attacked, Ukrainian Kazakhs took revenge on us.
And Moscow became owner of big parts of Ukraine. It was a
Yes,
disaster.
and
Again, we have to blame Poles on everything.
Maybe they are sometimes a little bit chauvinistic like Russians.
No, I
Big
wouldn't.
nation.
No. Poles are adamant. They value their traditions, and they are very, very, very proud Catholics. They definitely have drawbacks, but I would not claim Poles like that.
In this situation, they were not good guys.
They lacked being bright enough to be nice to the then Ukrainians. And
why would they be nice for anyone in Grand Duchy of Lithuania? Because Grand Duchy of Lithuania during the 16th century were fighting brutal wars with Muscovites, and 70% of Polish treasury were going to Lithuania to fight that war. So Poles had a bloody good reason to press Lithuanians. My sources are Robert Frost's lecture online. I will also share the link. And
Speaking about dissidents.
Yeah, sorry, we digress, please.
Nikolai Statkevich is descendant of these dissidents who were proud of their Orthodox faith. And sometimes they were fighting against Russia, against Muscovites. But sometimes, Mogilev uprising.
Yeah, you invited Russians in, and then you decided, screw that, and then you had a fight.
Because of this oppression from Poles, Mogilev citizens opened the gates to Russian army. It was a mistake made by Polish guys, and then by us, by Mogilev citizens. And then when Russians became such rude guys, and we were very angry, and we killed them.
Yeah. Well, but as I've mentioned, Poles helped us a lot and essentially had nothing in return, and they had every right to press us. And Valdas Rakutis said here, I believe it was 3 years ago, and he said, imagine a Pole nobleman who has to share his rights with some Ruthenian Orthodox scum whose name is Nalivaika. Like, what the hell is that? What the hell is that? You know?
What else were alliance?
And so they didn't do that because they were short-sighted, in my opinion.
Yeah, but you know, they had...
As they were short-sighted when they stole, using the then Gherkin, Mr. Zheligovsky, what was his name, again, stealing this land from us. It was very short-sighted and very stupid. Even though, and that being said, I still love them because they are a great civilization.
Yeah, and they were our friends. They are our most brotherly nation. I was here I was here a year ago. I said that Belarusians are our most brotherly nation, especially until 19th century, and I was absolutely wrong. Now I have educated myself, I've read more, and I see that Poles are our best friends. All right, let's finalize a little bit on Litvinism and security.
And let's not be very hard on him, he's our guest.
Everything is okay.
No, we have agreed that I will be a little bit of a prick, because we agreed on a lot of things.
I'm the good policeman, sorry.
Yeah, because we agree on a lot of things, and I want to
Sorry for my
pull truth out of him.
It's just fine,
I want to pull the truth out of him so that viewers wouldn't think that we are pushing some kind of agenda on you, you know. That would be unfair. Let's finalize on security and Litvinism. Let's imagine the invasion starts tomorrow. What would Belarusians do? Because our concern as Lithuanians is that most Belarusians, absolute vast majority of them, are not loyal or will simply fold. Especially if the attack is paired with Litvinistic propaganda about Vilnius being Krivich's city, Belarusian city, and so on, so on, so on.
Litvinism is not the main issue here. There are some guys who love Lukashenko, but a lot of them are citizens of Lithuania. They are not... Thank you. Okay. I think that I've stated already that we will be shot. Political migrants will be shot.
Would they collaborate? Would they simply sit on their hands, or would they fight with Lithuanians against the oppressors?
I'm not a soldier, but when it will come to this, maybe I will try to defend Lithuania, because I really like this country, because I was born in Grodno, and this city is very like my
I will
native
give
town.
you a gun. I've got 3 guns.
I cannot. I'm very bad sniper.
No, just to intimidate the opposition.
Yeah, during the war, Sergei will make informational propaganda attacks. Grodno nasze.
Maybe I will much more good as a journalist than as a fighter. But if I will have to defend Lithuanians.
No, so basically you cannot answer for Belarusians, but you know what you will do, or at least would like to do.
Try.
All right. Now I will blossom into full-on prick. What does pahone mean?
What?
Pahone, what does it mean?
For us, for Belarusians, it is a symbol. A symbol of independence. Because it is a symbol of Belarusian Republic founded in 1918. And then this republic was destroyed. And in 1991, when the national state was restored, we adopted this coat of arms as our coat of arms. I understand that this is part of history of Great Duchy of Lithuania, and for us, our history is much more ancient, and maybe we should use some coat of arms from Kievan Rus. It would be maybe better.
That would be the best solution.
That would be the best,
I will
absolutely.
be proud, maybe. I don't want to be proud of symbols. I don't want to be proud of history. It's not my way of thinking, but it could be great. Maybe it would be great to have a black painting of Malevich, because it's the most...
Black square.
Black square, because it is the most famous paintings made by...
I imagine Algis patrons being furious right now, like, another leftist at the channel! What the hell is this?
Sorry, I'm a leftist.
I think these days you can...
But now Pagonia is our national heritage because of these 4 years of democracy. We have only 4 years of democracy in 20th century, and last time we had democracy it was in Commonwealth, and this democracy was not perfect. It was democracy under the feudal law and so on, and so for us these 4 years of democracy are very important. And when Lukashenko changed the coat of arms and our national banner, it was false elections, false referendum.
Really? Because ERCB watchers, they claim that it wasn't perfect, it was legitimate. The highest court, I don't know how it's called, High Court, let's call it like that, the judge of the High Court of Belarusians, I don't remember his name, he also claims that the referendum was legitimate about the symbols, though he has questions about the Russian language and so on, because he thinks that is unconstitutional. But the symbols and so on, that was absolutely fair game. And I know people who were also, watchers, who came from Lithuania to spectate that referendum, and they said that everything was all right. Belarusians, on the free will, rejected those symbols.
I heard different stories, but I will not argue about that. Now, for us, we do not approve any of Lukashenko's deeds. If Lukashenko will speak that 2 + 2 is 4, we will consider. Maybe he is wrong.
All right. On your best guess, why did Belarusians choose Pohona at the beginning of the 20th century? Because this seems as a very foolish choice. By that time, Lithuanians were very firmly hosting parties at Vilnius with, Lietuvos Taryba, Basanavičius and so on. We were using Pohona then. We were definitely the successors of the Grand Duchy of Lithuania. Back then, all the Litvinistic, revisionistic propaganda wasn't in full blossom. Everyone understood who are Lithuanians, what is Lithuania, how it was established, so on, so on, so on. And yet Belarusians decided to go for Pohona, and it is worth mentioning that one of the names for Belarus, they basically had 3 choices on the table. Krivia, from Krivichas, Grand Lithuania, or Great Lithuania, it depends on how it's translated, and then Belarus. And they decided to go with Belarus and with the symbols of the Grand Duchy. Why did they make that choice?
I don't know. I am not a specialist in this period of our Belarusian history, but I can imagine that for them, history of the Grand Duchy of Lithuania and of Lithuanian Polish Commonwealth were the last before Russian occupation. And when you overthrow this part of our history, Russian history, what we will have? We will have Great Duchy of Lithuania. So maybe this is just a jest of disapproval of this Russian occupation.
All right.
And now it is very difficult to change.
I understand that, but it is another important question that I wanted to ask. If we're going at the hard facts, the chase, Pohona, in English it's the chase, it is the symbol of the Gedminid dynasty. The Lithuanian dynasty that came in hot and conquered Belarusian ancestors, essentially. There is no dilly-dallying around that. You can put a softer spin on it, but this is the essence.
For me, it doesn't matter, because Kievan Rus was founded by Vikings.
Yeah, but I'm talking about general Belarusian diaspora and socium. What kind of story are you telling yourself when you are taking the symbol of medieval occupants and aggressors?
For example, for England, French guys were occupiers, but a lot of culture went to them from France and so on, and for us, maybe you were occupiers for the first time, but then you were just landlords, like others, like Polish, like landlords of Belarusian origin and so on. It was not so important for average Belarusian guy, average Belarusian peasant or citizen. who are our feudals. Who are these nobles and so on? They're all they're enemies. If either they are from Lithuania, either they are from Russia, and so on, they're enemies. Class struggle, and so on. And what was your question again?
I mean, what kind of story do Belarusians tell themselves when we are going on hard facts? Because it doesn't really add up for a very nice story and seems like absolutely foolish. And everyone who is at least a little bit interested in history and truthful about it, you should understand that.
Ukrainian coat of arms is from Rurik. And Rurik, if he was a real person, he was.
Yeah. But you know, it is a personal endeavor of Rurik. It wasn't an endeavor of Sweden of that era. It was personal endeavor of Rurik.
He was occupier.
Yes.
Occupant.
In a sense, yes. But you know, this was not some kind of mercenary occupation, because if we're trying to sort of nail it down...
Difficult to say. It is historical myth. What is wrote in letterpiece, how it will be in chronicles. Chronicles of Kievan Rus, it is myth. It is story composed many centuries.
But anyway, chronicles do not say that Sweden came in and occupied Ukraine or whatever.
From the archaeological evidence, we know that Vikings came.
Yeah, but as I'm trying to put out, let me finish with the analogy. Basically, it was a mercenaries who had a personal endeavor, came in and established a state eventually. With Lithuania, it is a very, very different story. It is a full-on state that goes on raiding you and later on annexing you and later on discriminating you for centuries.
You were like land Vikings.
Yes.
But we state some of Balt tribes were Vikings without states, like Yatvagi.
Yeah, but we are not talking about that. We are talking about Lithuania being, assholes for you. I'm pushing on that.
I don't think it is just war of early and high medieval era.
Yeah, it's not just, but essentially.
It is just a war of those time. No of these guys were good guys for us. Not Kievan Rus, not Lithuanian landlords and so on. They were just suppressors and occupiers. For average guy, there were no democracy in those times. There were no justice in those times, real justice. There were no human rights, women rights, LGBT rights, and so on. So it's not my favorite part of history. I want to look to the future when everybody will have equal opportunities.
Right, so this is the end of me being a prick. Back to open-ended questions. How Lithuanians should talk to Belarusians about history? Because as I've mentioned before, it is almost impossible. You can talk at Belarusians, but to talk with Belarusians, to Belarusians, it's fruitless.
Very difficult question, because what are you going to have as a product of this discussion?
I want them to admit that all the Litvinistic nonsense, starting from Novogruda being the first capital, ending with, peaceful union of equals between Proto-Belarusian Ruthenians and Lithuanians, and so on, so on, so on. Because whenever, as I've mentioned, you present you present quotes from the historians, you provide links to the books and so on, so that the person could verify the information for themselves, it is denial.
It is about religion, not about facts. So you should push and push and push and push you should be patient with this, because sometimes these guys, they don't want to hear you, they don't want truth, because if you love somebody, you don't want somebody to say that this woman is stupid, this woman is ugly, and so on, but I love her. And facts, I don't care about facts. And these guys sometimes don't care about facts, but you should again and again and again provide the facts, and then with time, facts will push through their minds and so on. Maybe with time. You should be stubborn, you should be patient.
Understandable.
And we also shouldn't be so forgiving to PAUK type of people.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And you should speak to some Belarusians who can hear you, who are able to hear you. And with time, maybe we will convince another Belarusians that in your narrative there is some good things and so on and so on and so on. And with time, with small, how it will be in English, steps, yes, we will come to truth.
All right.
We will never agree 100%.
Oh, no.
It is not important. It is not in our society. We should have different opinions, and some facts are also constructs.
Yeah.
Because
but
this is history. This is not physics. This is not chemistry. This is history. So some of historical facts are social constructs.
I agree with you, but in some cases, certain things are pretty well hammered on.
Certain, yes.
And the problem with this is, as I've mentioned, Litvinism is not an opinion. It's essentially disinformation from Kremlin, centuries-old disinformation. And lies are never an opinion. It's simply lies.
Sometimes, yes. Sometimes, yes. What do you mean about Litvinism? Because Ales Biela is also Litvinist, but in another...
He's a very, very esoteric Litvinist. He considers... Ales Biela is a prominent Belarusian historian. By most Belarusians, he is considered a traitor. Because
look, I know him. You don't have to convince me.
Oh, sorry. I'm sort of speaking with you, but explaining it for the viewers. Mm-hmm. And he agrees that Litvinism is a problem. He is staunchly against it. Mm-hmm. But he himself considers himself a Litvan because he associates himself with people like Sirokomle, Mickiewicz, so on. Basically, people from, that Navagruda, Klida, Kreva area where a lot of Belarusian culture were. But a lot of Polish culture were. But politically and identity-wise, they considered themselves to be Lithuanian. They went with the state of Lithuania, let's call it like that. So he is a very, very, very separate case.
In this meaning of world Litvinist, maybe I am also Litvinist because I am from Grodno. When I came to Vilnius, I am at home. When I go to some Ukrainian cities, I am at home. But in Kiev, no. In Minsk, I am not at home. In Baranovichi, maybe a little bit, but in Grodno, yes, and at Vilnius, yes. This is my land. And when I go to, these pagan places near these crosses.
Three crosses, yeah.
Yes, these pagan places, these hills. When I feel bad, I go here and I feel better, and this is my place of power.
Yeah, listen. It is very important not to twist all these kind of notions because they are spun out of control very, very, very quickly. And I want to stress that very thing that Mickiewicz, Sirokomle, so on, they may not have been ethnoculturally Lithuanians, but politically and in regards to their identity, they are definitely with the state of Lithuania, not with Poland, not with Belarus or whatever, with the state of Lithuania. They are simply Lithuanians who didn't speak Lithuanian all that well or at all.
All medieval states, and this state was failed state. Sorry, but it was failed state. The last years of its existence, it was like modern Russia. Modern Russia is a narcoman with oil and gas. And this Commonwealth was a narcoman with grain. They sold grain to developed countries, and they didn't develop their own industry.
And there was something even worse. They were addicts of liberal metal.
Yeah, that's...
And the same. It was not very good try for our nations. Not very good try.
Well, I personally am fond of Commonwealth, as I know that are you. But at the 18th century, definitely went downhill.
Yes, there were very good parts of history.
And one of those rare examples in this country, I'm flying a flag of the Commonwealth.
Yes, I've seen.
two nations. You have seen this.
Yes. They were really good pages. For example, for us, Franciscus Carina was one of famous, prominent humanists. He translated Biblia in our ancient language. It is not Belarusian, but it was some kind of predecessor of our modern language.
Yeah. But having said that, I agree with that 100%, but we cannot stay silent on the fact that political elite in major institutions, they were Lithuanians. And all Ruthenians, well, Proto-Belarusians and Ukrainians who wanted to enter those, they had to convert to Catholicism, marry into Lithuanian families, buy Lithuanian land, have a myth of being from Latin origins or from Lithuanian origins like Statkevich from Bareika and so on.
And again, this was one of main reasons that this state failed. Because a lot of Ruthenians, our grand forefathers, they associated them with Moscow for this reason. And this was a disaster. For us, and for Poles, and for Ukrainians, and for Lithuanians, and for Latvians, and so on. This was a disaster.
I remember a little bit differently, but I would need to double-check my sources. It was somewhat mixed feeling from Lithuanian end. During the Muscovite Wars, Lithuanians suspected their Ruthenian counterparts of being traitors because of their language, because of the faith. Though, whenever push came to shove, Ruthenians were on Lithuanian side most of the time. Not always, but most of the time.
Even guys from Smolensk, now it is Russia, but then it was our land, and they stubbornly fought Muscovites.
And for example, your homeland, Grodno, every uprisal that we had during the 19th century, Grodno was part of it.
Yes, and in 2020, Grodno was one of the best places to protest.
Yeah, though it is a very small sliver of whole Belarus, and that's also an important thing to say. All right, how would you fix this situation with historical debate? What could be just as an activist, let's fantasize. What could be a possible solution?
I will push this narrative that we should look to the future. This is my statement. And that our history is much more ancient than yours. And we shouldn't steal your history or say that you have stolen our history. It is not so important for us. We can say that in 9th century we were civilized, and you not. And maybe even not in 9th century, maybe some gods came to our country and you call us goody. I like it because gods were Germans and they're like Vikings. Maybe this Kievan Rus was maybe 500 older than we think. Maybe.
Well, Kievan Rus essentially, I think it was actually in 9th century, and Lithuania came to prominence only in 12th century. So there's a huge gap.
So if somebody wants to proud of our history, we should not steal anything from you. We can proud our history now. But I don't think that it is very clever to be proud of these wars, this oppression and so on. There were some good pages, for example, Skarina, other humanists. They were real heroes of wars, who defended our motherland, not attacked another countries, like Konstantin Ostrożki, for example, and so on. Yes.
But he is Ukrainian, though.
No,
he was Ukrainian. No, he was Ukrainian. Trust me. Trust me, mate.
I don't care.
All right. I think we have interrogated you enough.
Okay.
Right. Thank you very much, Sergey.
Thank you.
Sergey.
Dziękujemy. Dziękuję.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for watching that. We'll be here someday again, and we shall prevail.